voice. What if I told you that one of the greatest leaders in history was once a barefoot boy walking miles to borrow a single book? That the man who ended slavery once failed in business, lost in politics, faced heartbreak, poverty, and depression, yet never gave up? This is not just a story about power or politics. It's about the human spirit. It's about Abraham Lincoln, the man who proved that you can start with nothing and still change everything. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12th, 1809, in a small log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky. No silver spoon, no comfortable bed, not even proper shoes. His father, Thomas Lincoln, was a hardworking farmer, and his mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, a kind and gentle woman who taught him compassion. But life was cruel. When Abraham was just 9 years old, his mother died of a mysterious illness known as milk sickness. Imagine that, a little boy standing beside a rough wooden coffin, watching the only warmth in his life disappear into the cold earth. That day, something changed in young Abraham. He learned that pain can destroy you, or it can shape you. He chose the second. Chapter 2. The Hungry Mind Education? He had almost none. In total, he attended less than 1 year of school, but his hunger for knowledge was unstoppable. He used to walk miles just to borrow a single book. Sometimes he read by the firelight late into the night with a piece of coal in his hand, writing on wooden boards because he couldn't afford paper. Books became his best friends and his escape. He read the Bible, Aesop's fables, and works of great thinkers like Shakespeare and Jefferson. Every word he read added strength to his heart. Every page whispered to him, "You are meant for something greater." And maybe he started to believe it. Chapter 3. The Hard Road of Failure. When Abraham grew older, he worked as a farm laborer, a rail splitter, a shopkeeper, even a postmaster. He tried everything, but life kept testing him. In 1831, he started a small business. It failed. He ran for the legislature. He lost. He fell in love. She died. He ran again for political office and lost again. At one point, he was so heartbroken and depressed that friends removed all razors and knives from his reach. But that's the thing about Lincoln. He never let failure define him. He once said, open quote, "My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure." Close quote. And he was never content. Every failure was a lesson. Every heartbreak, a step forward. Chapter 4. A Dream Bigger Than Himself. In 1834, Abraham Lincoln finally won a seat in the Illinois state legislature. It was a small victory, but it meant everything. The poor boy from a wooden cabin had entered the world of politics. He spent his nights reading law books by candlelight, teaching himself everything about justice and governance. By 1836, he became a lawyer, walking miles from village to village, arguing cases, earning respect not by money, but by honesty. People began to call him Honest Abe. And honesty in those times was a rare treasure. But Lincoln's vision was not limited to courtrooms or towns. He saw the pain of slavery spreading across the country. He saw people being treated as property, and his soul rebelled. He once said, open quote, "If slavery is not wrong, then nothing is wrong." Close quote. That thought became his purpose. Chapter 5. The Rise of a Leader. By 1858, America was tearing itself apart. The North wanted freedom for all. The South wanted slavery to continue. Lincoln stood up against a powerful man named Stephen Douglas in a series of debates that the whole country listened to. His words were fire, but his tone was calm. He didn't shout, he inspired. Open quote, "A house divided against itself cannot stand," he declared. Close quote. Those words shook America. People began to see him as more than a politician. He was a moral voice. And in 1860, that voice carried him to the White House. Abraham Lincoln became the 16th President of the United States. But the celebration didn't last long. The moment he took office, the nation broke apart. Chapter 6. The War Within. The Civil War erupted. Brother fought brother. The land that once called itself united was bleeding from within. Lincoln stood in the center of the storm. Every decision he made could cost thousands of lives. Every night, he carried the weight of a divided nation on his shoulders. He faced hatred, threats, and betrayal, even from his own cabinet. Yet, he never stopped believing in his mission. He said, open quote, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true." Close quote. Through sleepless nights and endless letters, he held the nation together with words, courage, and faith. Chapter 7. The Emancipation Proclamation. On January 1st, 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed one of the most powerful documents in human history, the Emancipation Proclamation. It declared that all enslaved people in Confederate states were free. With a single stroke of the pen, he changed not just America, but humanity. It wasn't a popular decision. Many hated him for it. But he didn't lead to be loved. He led to do what was right. He said, open quote, "Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves." Close quote. That day, Lincoln became not just a president, he became a symbol of justice, equality, and unbreakable moral courage. Chapter 8. The Man Behind the Power. Behind the speeches and the strength, Lincoln was deeply human. He visited soldiers in hospitals, held their hands, and wrote letters to families who had lost their sons. He was tall, awkward, often sad, yet filled with empathy. He told jokes to ease pain, but his heart carried endless sorrow. He had lost two sons, endured countless political defeats, and faced a war that seemed impossible to win. And yet, every morning he woke up and kept going. That's what greatness is. Not the absence of pain, but the refusal to be broken by it. Chapter 9. Victory and Sacrifice. In 1865, after 4 long, bloody years, the Civil War finally ended. The Union had been preserved, slavery was abolished, freedom had triumphed. On April 9th, 1865, General Lee surrendered. The war was over. America could finally breathe again, and so could Lincoln. He walked through the streets of Washington, people cheering his name. Abe! Honest Abe! The man who had once split wood for a living had split the chains of slavery. But fate had one final twist left. Chapter 10. The Final Night. Just days after victory, on April 14th, 1865, Lincoln went to watch a play at Ford's Theater. He smiled, relaxed, perhaps for the first time in years. He didn't know that in a few moments, a man named John Wilkes Booth would end his life. The sound of that gunshot silenced not just a president, but a dreamer, a fighter, a father of freedom. Abraham Lincoln died the next morning. The nation wept. The world mourned. But legends never die. His body was gone, yet his vision lived on. Chapter 11. The Legacy That Never Fades. Even today, more than 150 years later, Lincoln's words still guide us. He taught us that true leadership isn't about fame or power. It's about service and sacrifice. He taught us that success doesn't come from what you have. It comes from what you do with what you have. He showed us that even the darkest times can't defeat a heart that refuses to give up. Lincoln once said, open quote, "The best way to predict your future is to create it," close quote. And that's what he did. He created a future where freedom would outshine fear. Final message: rise like Lincoln. My friend, the next time life pushes you down, when you feel like giving up, When the world calls you a failure, remember the boy from the log cabin. He had no money, no connections, no formal education, but he had faith, courage, and an unbreakable dream. He turned wounds into wisdom, pain into power, and failures into fuel. And that's what you can do too. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Don't let your past define your future. Rewrite it. Because greatness is not born in comfort, it is forged in struggle. Be like Lincoln. Stand tall when the world doubts you. Keep walking when the road disappears. And believe deeply, unshakably, that your story too can change the world. Abraham Lincoln once said, open quote, always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other one thing. Close quote. So resolve today to succeed, to rise, to become the best version of yourself. Because if a poor boy from Kentucky could change the destiny of a nation, imagine what you can do. Log cabin to the White House. That's not just Lincoln's story. That's a reminder of what's possible. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. Because hope is how every great story begins.